Hey everyone, and welcome to Aha Moments podcast with me, Kobi Omenaka. My guest this week is Rashmi Dube. She is a fabulous lawyer.
Wanted to be two things, and one was be in a James Bond film, and the other one was like, well, people need help in the world, so I need to be a judge because then I can help them.
There are three things I want you to take away from this conversation between me and Rashmi.
But life has crazy paving, I think. I don't think anyone's path is ever linear.
Number one, life doesn't always follow a simple map. It follows crazy paving.
You are the asset. And if your asset is working, nothing else is going to happen.
Number two, if your health fails, then your business fails too. Number three, you and you alone have the control, but the whole world will try and convince you otherwise. Rashmi Dube, thank you so much for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I didn't mean to ram your name with today. That was nonsensical. I apologize.
How are we doing? Rashmi Dube today. How do we feel? I'm on the Kobi podcast, loving the haha moments. Straight away. The guys, strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. How are you? How are you, Rashmi? Really good. Winning is my current phrase.
Amazing. That takes me back to when I first met you, which was in a dinner party in the Shard, which sounds extremely like poncy and fancy. And the host asked a few people to introduce themselves, and you were one of the people. And you said, Rashmi Dube, fabulous lawyer. And I was like, okay, good. I like you. I like what you got to say.
It is a phrase I still use because everybody switches off with the word lawyer, right? They're like, yeah, okay, fine. You're going to sell to me. And I was just like, I'm a fabulous lawyer because I am fabulous, darling. One of the things I happen to do is be a lawyer.
Fabulous and a lawyer. Fantastic. But I mean, that does, if it's stuck in my head for, the best part of a decade, I don't want to diminish it by saying soundbite, that kind of sticks in people's minds, doesn't it? That kind of phraseology. So you must have thought, I'm onto a winner with this.
Yeah, you have to stand out, don't you? You have to differentiate yourself somehow. And you've only got, anything between 10 to 30 seconds when you first meet somebody. So they've already eyed you up. They've already looked at your clothing. So my clothing, I try to put on point. They're looking at your facial expressions, how open are you, your arm movements, and then they're listening. So you're trying to give them all this information at once. And so something has to really stick out. So if I've caught them off with the clothing, then it has to be the words. And then the smile, which I'm always doing.
Yeah, you've got a massive, fantastic smile. So I'm sure that pulls people in straight away. So this little mini masterclass in 30 seconds that you just gave does tie in a lot with key and being, networking and things like that. So we're going to definitely touch on that in this discussion. But I'd like to know a bit more about the fabulous lawyer side of things. What brought you to law?
Growing up, I wanted to be two things.
Right.
And one was be in a James Bond film.
Fine. Why not?
From the age of 7. I was like, I could be Bond, right? So either Bond or as somebody in Bond. And the other one was like, well, people need help in the world, so I need to be a judge because then I can help them. Sure. Was a theory. So then I just went down the law path with originally having an intention actually to do human rights. That was the original calling. But life has crazy paving, I think. I don't think anyone's path is ever linear. Or you might have a destination, but the sail to that destination is never without a storm of some description. So I ended up, qualifying into law, and I worked up north, so I was up in Yorkshire, so I'm adopted Yorkshire, and nice. Which is great. And I've been in law nearly 30 years now. A long time. But what I love about it is that because I'm a chartered director as well, which means I've got the qualification and experience of being a NED, a non-exec director, I bring a different angle to a lot of the legal requirements. And I always say I'm a conductor now. Because of the experience, I've got an army of people with various specialisms. You've come to listen to music. You want me to resolve things or help you with something. You don't really care who the musicians are, but it has to play beautifully. And so
you're pulling the strings, you're putting the orchestra together.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And then also conducting.
Yeah.
And so there have been times when I put something together, a team together, and I'm like, oh, actually, 2 days later, I'm like, no, this isn't quite the right team that I need for this specific client. I'll change the team. I'm not embarrassed. There's nothing embarrassed about it. I just need to get the result for the client. So it's and that's and then you're communicating with your client, stroke the audience, and the conductor. And it's a beautiful symphony.
Well, that's it. You're communicating with your client, but also communicating with the people in your orchestra, and making sure everyone's on the same beat, everyone's doing what they should be doing. If there's downtime for the cellist, that's because that's what's scripted, and they're going to be picking up I don't know if it's called a baton.
Let's go with the baton. I'm all about sports. Yeah.
They're going to be picking up again to play the tune, to play their key parts of the tune.
Yeah.
And then maybe put it down again later on.
But the other aspect of that is, when you come to a concert, you're expecting X, Y, and Z. But sometimes you get something different. And you're like, wow, that was amazing. And that's also my job, is to listen to the clients and understand, okay, this is their objective, but is there anything else I can add value and say, what about this?
Nice. So when you said you wanted to help people and you went down the law routes, were there, because I went down investigating the doctor thing to help people.
Yeah.
And then also just tapping on what you said about human rights law, because I feel a lot of people enter with that, yes, this is the best way to do things. And then you tapped in with the life has crazy paving, which I love as a phrase. So what took you down? Why did you think law was a route for you in the first place? And then what took you away from the human rights side of things?
Sorry about that. I suppose there's two questions there, isn't there? What took me away from human rights, and
why the legal side in general, as opposed to maybe being in the medical side?
Human rights was you might have a choice and you might want to do something, and we are going back 30 years. Life was different. Life was different for women. Life was different for ethnic minorities, and it's different in the law. So, and you need sponsors and supporters and cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And so if you don't know anybody, and I didn't know anybody in the legal profession, I was trying to figure it out all on my own. The universities were limited in their advice as well at the time.
Right.
So, and all I wanted to do was qualify at one point. So you want to just get qualifications, because training contracts at that point, and still are, very, very difficult. So that was my objective, was to get a training contract. And then what happens is you start defaulting into different types of areas of law, and then you're swept away with the storm, and then you've ended up at another destination, right, in your boat.
This is life, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. And so that's why I moved away from the human rights. But my dare say passion, or my longing, my drive is to help people. And I believe that is still something I did throughout my life. So my first business was actually debt recovery and credit control. And that was just out of the financial crisis. Now, bearing in mind, I've got legal knowledge and business acumen. I could help people understand how to get their payments repaid quickly.
Right.
And so I was always constantly helping the SME at that time. And I then later went into the Cabinet Office for the SME Advisory Panel. And that is, again, being a voice to help businesses with payments. I was on the Late Payments Committee. We drafted legislation. I actually personally looked at that legislation, read it, amended things. I'm constantly advocating for businesses that don't have a voice. I work, I'm a member of the IOD. They're a lobbyist group. I represented the Institute of Directors on a UK level as the spokesperson for governance and policy. So lawyers create policy, lawyers help legislation, they enforce the law, they create new law, and they are still an advocate for business. And businesses do need advocates, because, otherwise you wouldn't have the organizations like CBI.
Yeah.
And there's always pressures from different organizations, because the larger organizations require something else and the smaller organizations need something else, but there has to be somebody who is speaking up for the businesses. And whether it's me as a lawyer and representing you in court, or, it could be defamation. Again, somebody could take a hit on slander, and you're like, somebody has to represent them, because it's not fair.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
When you were talking then about you just want to qualify, I think that's such a valid experiential reason why people end up where they end up. They just want to qualify. They just want to get to the next thing. For me, when my first degree was chemical engineering, and I focused on biotechnology, and I was thinking, yes, I'm going to get into pharmacy, I'll do X, Y, Z, or something down that route. And then ultimately, I got a job I couldn't get a job in anything like that, so I got a job in oil and gas.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
and that became fine. So it was just like, well, that's just the card you were dealt, and then that's the route you got taken down. And then,
but anybody who's younger listening to this podcast, what I would say to them is, yes, there's two goals that you need to keep an eye on. Yes, get qualified, but then don't lose sight of what you actually want to do. And you will be given, especially because there's so many American law firms coming into the industry in the UK now. You will be shown so many golden tickets, but it's actually, I ask yourself very, very clearly, is it what you want long term? And two, what is your health worth? That is the other question. Because you are the asset. And if your asset is working, nothing else is going to happen. So you got to...
So explain that a bit more. Is that something particular? Because I've heard stories which haven't enamored me with the legal profession. So can you explain maybe at a high level what you're...
So some firms are still getting the younger generations, those that are training, to do ridiculously long hours, to the point where you finished work maybe 10, 11 o'clock at night, maybe even a little later, probably later, that's early. You might get a taxi to go home because they've sent you a taxi and you're like, great. Sometimes you have a change of clothes at work, they'll take your clothes and get them dry cleaned and bring them back.
Right.
There may be sleeping pods for you.
Yeah.
None of this is absolutely healthy. You can't constantly be on. You can't constantly work. You shouldn't be measured by the amount of billable hours that you are doing. There was a sad case recently of a female partner, children, married, and she's no longer with us. She's she made a decision about that, but she had worked ridiculously long hours for months, and that must have been a huge factor to it.
I know some good friends of mine who started working in the legal profession and was like, nope, that's me. I'm not going to do this, and pivoted to other amazing stuff. And then people who have suffered quite badly and had to take time out and then kind of step back in a way that they're more happy with on their own terms a bit more.
And that's probably why I set up my own law firm back in 2013.
Right.
And then what I've done is taken some of those team members with me to Gonna Cook, where I am now. But that's because it's an alternative law firm where I'm self-employed. I run my own business within that structure. And that's why I've got the army of other lawyers with specialism, and it's international. But they're there with the marketing, the finance, the compliance. They take control of all of that. And it means is how I design my life, which is what you want, right?
Absolutely. So how many businesses have you started?
So we had the debt recovery credit control, which then rolled into my law firm. So I ran the law firm for about 7 years after the debt recovery company. And then I went into Gonna Cook, where I took a little bit of a break and just focused on the law for a bit. Sure. And then did other things, continuing my writing and so forth. Then I launched my app at the end of last year. Key.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not that many.
Not that many.
It's going to be,
But for periods of time, because they were for long periods of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just that, so maybe it's the fact that some of these companies are quite in depth and heavy, because a debt recovery firm, that's not something you just start on a whim. Your own law firm isn't something you just write in the back of a fag packet and think, that's time to start a law firm. So these are in-depth, chunky companies you're building.
Yeah.
So how was that? How was that navigating those decisions, those steps in your life?
Well, I think sometimes you're just pushed into a direction, right? So in 2009, there was a lot going on, and we had the financial crisis, redundancies were strife, and I just wasn't happy where I was. So I did some research and I said, okay, what would make money? What would be useful? What would be of use to businesses at this moment in time?
Sure.
And that's when I was like, insolvencies go up. But insolvencies go up because predominantly, not always, but predominantly cash flow. You're not getting paid. Okay, well, I understand debt recovery and credit control, both from a litigation perspective and also, from an entrepreneurial perspective from businesses. So created that business. And that was hard because I think at that time it wasn't quite the impact. The financial crisis didn't have the same impact as people expected. So the insolvency world expected it to print money because there'd be lots of insolvencies, and there wasn't.
Okay.
But what it did do was help businesses understand credit control a lot better, leave them with tools, and that's what I want to do, is empower businesses to take it themselves, so they're not reliant on anyone to do it. So that was very much of its time and of its moment. And there was lots of learning curves when you run your first business. I mean, I will remember this. So I started off in my own back bedroom, and then I moved into a cupboard.
Is that I don't know, a step up or step down? What sideways step?
Sure.
What's going on there?
Rented a cupboard for somebody's office because it was large enough to be an office, but it wasn't quite.
Okay, so it wasn't a cupboard under the stairs like Harry Potter?
No, not quite, no. But it was, it was definitely a cupboard. And it wasn't even near any towns or any cities. It was just off the beaten track. And I was just like, well, it's better than being in the home. It's the first step and what have you. But the mentality when I got out of the home, and it was the ex-lawyer in me that came from large law firms, right, where we had stationary cupboards. You just got your stationery. So I'd ordered the stationery, and it wasn't very much, Kobi. It was £25. It wasn't very much, thinking about it now. But I got the invoice, and I'm talking out aloud to myself because there's nobody else there, right? Two things. One was like, who ordered the stationery? It's £25. Where are we paying for that from? Nobody touched the stationery. It's going back.
I need to be a bit more like that with my purchases for the business. I'm like, I'll just buy that thing which I probably don't need and can't justify.
And then the first week I came back and I was looking at the bin, and I was like, and the desk and like cups and things. I was just like, well, where's the cleaner? Why isn't the cleaner cleaned?
Hold on, did the cupboard not come with a cleaner as part of the rental agreement? What's going on? Well, I'll tell you a good story from the debt recovery credit control times. Was anybody who's listening to this podcast, you may have remembered a lady called Janet. And Janet was a fierce Rottweiler collecting my money. Right.
Because people wouldn't pay me after doing a great job for them. And I'm like, come on. And she wasn't taking any fools. Didn't take any fools at all. And polite, but firm. And she managed to get the money in. And I remember one client particularly calling me saying, just spoken Janet. And I was like, you just spoke to Janet? And he went, yes. And I'll pay you your money tomorrow. I was like, well, you just need to let Janet know she deals with it. And he was like, okay, I'm just letting you know as well. Janet, for everyone who's listening, didn't exist. Janet was me. I had an email with a separate...
Beautiful. That's amazing though, right? Because you wear so many different hats. You're the cleaner, you're the debt collector. So your client, you're working with your clients for their debt collection problems, challenges, and you're debt collecting on your own behalf as this other person. And that's 3 hats. I'm sure there are many others in this.
So then the bookkeeper.
Yeah.
And you're your marketing, you're the networker, you're the BD, your sales, and this is all. LinkedIn was just a thing, just was around, but we were still business cards. We were still like face-to-face networking, going to every single event. Yeah, it was a different world. We had no social media.
Yeah. Hold on, what, 2009?
Not that anybody was using to any extent.
Yeah.
There was nobody.
We did,
LinkedIn,
because we had MySpace. We had Facebook would have been around, but not for everyone.
Yeah, Facebook was definitely around, but
Well, I'm thinking of Friends Reunited. That was the one I was thinking of.
Doing it for business at that point.
Yeah, I was thinking Friends United was the one that was the main one.
Yeah,
I remember it was a weird, lovely time that when I look back then and think I'm so glad I didn't have social media when I was at university. But around that time also, when Twitter started, when Facebook started, I'd started making my first websites, and the kind of internet became alive more, because prior to that it was very much a transactional thing. You go to a website, you read the thing, and then you shut it down and off you go. And then when you got that interactivity in websites, and you can start playing music from websites, you start streaming stuff, and YouTube was happening. Yeah. This all became alive, and that's really what kind of triggered me at that time as well. So I do look back on it with a bit of fondness and nostalgia. Oh, what you didn't know, Kobi, back then. But it meant also doing things like what you did were harder but easier in a way, because previously, if there was a full-on LinkedIn, as there is now, and Janet from the Debt Recovery Co. send someone an email, they might be like, who's this Janet? What's she doing? Will you leave me alone? So it's quite funny. So I like that.
What you just said, actually, because in the sense that I literally had this thought last night. I have so much information now of years of experience of running businesses from 2009 and sitting on other companies' boards.
Yeah.
And doing strategies, global strategies. I wonder if it's a hindrance to me on some level, because before I just went in so blindly and so naively that I thought things could just get done. Do I put blockers unintentionally in
now? You mean versus
now? Yeah.
Well, I love it when I hear successful people and they're on interviews, they're on talk shows or whatever, and inevitably a question says, how did you get to where you are now? How did you design your career? How did you get so successful? And the humbleness when people say, look, who knows? But ultimately, if I knew now how hard it was going to be to get here, I probably wouldn't have taken that first step. And I think there's a beauty in that. Like, I don't know, that's where I want to get to. Let's just take the first step. And once you're in it, you're kind of like in it and amongst it, and you just start rummaging around. But if someone had like literally said, all right, here's the map, follow these steps to get there, you'd probably think, oh, I don't know, I just don't want to do all that.
Yes, yeah, exactly. It's like when it's half of the people that are sitting on sofas that saying, I want to look like that person on TV, but aren't removing themselves from the sofa.
No.
Because it takes work. It takes hard work to do good habits. It takes hard work to do discipline. And that's what gets you to any success.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think one of the things that inspired me, though, or made me feel a bit more comfortable when I started my entrepreneurial life, was I read a quote, and I'm probably not remembering it correctly, but it was from the LinkedIn founder. And he said, building a business is jumping off the cliff and building an airplane around you after you've jumped off the cliff.
Yeah.
And cash flow is just the gasoline or the petrol. It's always going to run out. You're always going to need more. And I thought, oh, okay. So that's what I'm doing. No, it's a context.
Yeah. Thanks for your help, mate.
And it did. For some unknown reason at the time, it helped to know that.
But that said, even now, you've run at least 2 businesses. You then, when I reconnected with you last year, you're like, oh, I've just started a new business. So what's going on there then?
So founded this business called Key, and it's an app. It's for networking. And what's interesting is my other businesses have all been services that I know a lot about, and I've got the vision and I know how to get the people in and deliver. This is tech.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of learning that I had to do, but I knew exactly how it needed to look and feel. So we did the first launch, and what I learned very quickly about tech is you just have to keep launching and relaunching till you get it frictionless and to where the people want it. So what the app is, and it's going through a rechange at the moment, we're updating a few things, is 2 things. One is, let's take a networking group of business networking. So there are a group of individuals, let's take the SME sector, that will always constantly be out at events or networking events, specifically conferences, and they need an easier way to connect. At the moment, a lot of people, because of the environment as well, we're not using business cards as much. They were never that great anyway, in the first place. LinkedIn is a way of connecting, but then you fall into all the LinkedIn contacts, and then I can't remember who you were, where I met you. WhatsApp, again, not 100% great. So this allows you to say, I've met you at X place. This was the event. All the contacts go into that one place. You'll have the profile, the person's profile, and also then you can make notes about that person and you can follow up. It will, with AI, everything's with AI, it will help you draft up that follow-up message or send you reminders. What we're doing now, I say we, royal we.
You and Janet.
Yeah.
You and Janet in the cleaner.
Exactly. what I'm doing now is actually we're refocusing on that app and making it easier for people to connect at events who they're looking for a specific persona, but also with a reminder to say, just meet somebody random, because you just don't know what's going to happen from that.
Yeah.
And also have a bit of coaching, because, with networking tools and reminders of how to network, which is, stems from the original book that I did back in the day. And then the other version of this app is actually aimed at humanity generally and the connection that humans have. And what that means to me is, for instance, there are groups that go running, rollerblading, hiking, and there has to be a better way for them to communicate as well and connect with each other and have those events listed. So that's where we're at the moment.
Okay, so there's the business side of things, but also just a natural social, ostensibly non-business related connection that people need. And I think that's it. I often think I get to a stage in my life where I'm like, I don't need any more friends. This is fine. And then suddenly we have a baby. I'm like, okay, it's good to have other people who are going through the same thing as me. And then, you move to a different place. And it's like, okay, it's good to have people I've got a new job now. So, okay, it's good to have these connections. Yeah. So you do continually need these things. And an amazing network I had was when I started cycling. When I moved to London and started cycling, when I started running and doing triathlon, suddenly I had all these people who I was just meeting up with on a Tuesday night. Yeah. And then you suddenly start to get to know those people, and you can support people, and you go and see their films when they have a film screening, or they go to, you're there when the baby's born. Yeah. And that's such a nice thing to do. So that's really, I like the way you're trying to propagate that and make that happen.
And a bit more, why it means so much to me is because I feel, from my perspective, even kids, we're moving away from human interaction. But we really are focused on the technology side. And it does scare me a little bit that not very far away, that kids nowadays, that one of their best friends is going to be an AI.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Well, one of my best friends is an AI, so I don't know why I wouldn't be a kid.
There you go. But we learn we are social creatures. So that's probably, from my perspective, and I'm not a medical profession, haven't done the research yet on this, I'm in the process of doing it, but the more connections we have with artificial intelligence and technology, the higher the sadness rates and mental side of things go up, right? Because we're human creatures, so we need that. We need the social. So if I can facilitate it to make it easier for you to connect physically, then that makes me happy.
Love it. So this podcast is called Aha Moments, and we have 3 questions we ask every single guest. Okay. The first of which is, can you think of an aha moment in a company or product you've worked in that your customers found? How did you find that aha moment? How did you get your customers to that as soon as possible when you found it?
In a product or a service?
Or a product or service or company that you've worked in.
So it was witnessing an aha moment.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So slightly different, but witnessing that penny in the air moment. Cool. And so I talk a lot about ESG, environmental social governance, and the governance I come from is the board governance. And I kept saying to this board, really, can we focus a little bit more on the environmental change, the product level? And all they kept seeing for months was costs. And so what I did was create a Janet. Oh, she haunts me. Right?
You should be a superhero. With your alter egos. Janet's good. No one gets the name Janet wrong, so that's fine.
So I created their product, but a bit more environmentally friendly, completely rebranded it, and was just like, after a meeting with them, I was like, oh yeah, I think you're going to lose sales because of X, Y, and Z. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, oh, haven't you heard about this brand? And then I predicted what they were going to do, and I showed them, I did a whole story about this brand. And they were environmentally, exact same product, just slightly more environmentally friendly, and looked at the supply chain slightly differently. And made a song and dance about it to public because they were actually doing it. So the customers who advocate these things will buy that product because they want to be seen as supported.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then it was the penny in the air, and it was their faces, which was the ha-ha moment for me. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then phones came out, I can't find it. Where's the webpage? What's it? I'm like, do you want to compete with them? And they're like, well, we need to change. I was like, okay, well, this is Janet. Doesn't exist, but that's what's going to happen if you don't change.
Yeah.
And they changed.
I love it. I need to get a Janet.
Yeah.
Yeah. When one of the companies at least more than one of the companies I've worked with, I've helped them install a chatbot. And so I always call them Isabella. So if ever you go on the company website and the chatbot is called Isabella, then I've maybe installed that. Yeah.
Love it. It's still better.
Oh, I don't know. Janet's good. Janet's easy to spell. That's the thing. Isabella can be spelled so many different ways. Yeah. But I kind of like that in a way. But yeah, that's I do need a Janet stroke Isabella for some of the things I do. Second aha moment question is for you. What aha moment have you had in a product or service that you buy or use?
where something I was just like, oh wow, didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, an example I like to give is when someone first told me about Uber, and I was like halfway through there telling me, I was like, stop talking, give me the fucking details right now, because I want to use this. And this is when I just moved to London, and I hated with vehement passion getting a taxi, hated waiting in the taxi rank. A taxi rank's still a thing. Hated having to stop tell them as I get in, like, I'm sorry, we need to stop at a cash machine because I don't have the cash on me. All these things were just solved by this half a conversation with someone. I was just like, I didn't know I needed this, but if this works, even 10% of what you're saying it works as, then I need it right now. So yeah, that was a...
I suppose there's been a collection of those type of things. So, I think it's, as time has moved on and technology has moved on, it's been great to see some of the apps, like the booking apps for hotels. It's made my life a lot easier, right?
100%.
The other things that are like that, anything to do with AI, I love to a certain degree a lot of the AIs like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplex AI, because they are helpful.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm like, how did I do this before? Like, it will create a personal plan for me. It's my personal assistant in some instances. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is a game changer, because you've just saved so much time on me just thinking about my week's food prep.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Like, you've just given me the recipes. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. That's fine. And you know what I like. So
one of my most popular posts on LinkedIn is where because I always collect people's, well, not always, but I ask people like what their favorite kind of prompt is on using ChatGPT, that not work related, but it's what you use. And so I collected like 11 of these and put this in a post on LinkedIn. And one of them was about wanting recipes, but not having to read the whole blog post before you get to the recipe. But also in that discussion with that person, we talked about like, it's just being able to say what ingredients you have, the kind of food you like, and being able to pull out something without thinking about it. Or for your weekly shop, what can you make with that? Or how do you make a chocolate chip cookie? What do I need for that? And that just, because you're still going to be cooking, you're still going to be doing the prep, but it just that kind of saves your brain space. So
and taking really, a photo of your fridge and saying, what can I cook today?
I've never thought about taking a photo of the fridge.
Oh yeah, take a photo of the fridge, and you can say, "What can I cook today with what I've got?" If you're, especially towards the end of the week and your delivery is the next day, what can I cook? That's
the next level, Rashmi. Thank you so much.
That's okay.
I love that.
But the other thing I want to say just quickly on the aha moments in business was, and it was a big thing for me, was walking into restaurants, gyms, and not everybody does it, hospitality sectors, where in the female toilets, A, they're slightly bigger now, and B, they leave you feminine hygiene products. I'm just like, I feel seen.
So one of these companies that I told you I was working with Isabella, installed Isabella, this company called Frida, My Frida.
Yeah.
And so she started out D2C, directly to consumer, sending sanitary products, tampons, period products, period care to people. But now she's pivoting hard and really doing well, putting them in hotels.
Yeah.
Saying like, if you can give someone a sewing kit, you can give them tampons, you can give them towels.
Yeah.
And that's where, when I first met her, probably about the same time as I met you initially, I was just like, Afi, and Afi's been on this podcast as well, a few episodes back. When she told me her story, I was like, I'm going to help you because I love what you're doing. And I think it's just,
it's amazing.
It makes sense. Yeah. And now every time I do go into an office block, or if I go somewhere else, go to a hotel, go to a restaurant, even in the men's toilets, they're there, and I'm like, I don't need them, but someone will.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. And that's fantastic. I think that's an amazing, fundamentally very basic shift.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Helps people out so much, right? It's like,
yeah, absolutely. And as society gets older, those hygiene products aren't just for women; they're for men as well.
Right.
And that's why if you've seen so men of a certain age, especially with prostate issues, have leakages, and so they need those type of products as well. So it's very interesting. And so that was a good little aha. Becoming seen.
One day you might become equal to some.
The dream to reality and beyond.
The final aha moment is a personal aha moment or life hack. What would that be for you?
That was at the age of 16.
Right.
I still try to remember and then try to embody. And that was from my mum. So that I have the control. I have control over the decisions. I have control over the emotions. I have control over how much knowledge I have. I have control over what I input into myself and put out. So she was in a board meeting. She was in and I was there. She took me to the meeting. And she was in negotiations to sell. She had businesses, so she was selling hotels at the time. And the man was very aggressive. So it's the States. It's the 80s. The background of that is that he was going to always be aggressive, and that's how they negotiate. And she just went, stop. This is the offer. You can take it or leave it. But if you leave it, we're not coming back. The door is firmly closed after that. And that's it. And it was the way she reminded me in that moment of what she's always said is you have control. And people will try and derail you from that and try and tell you don't have control. And they will make you believe you don't have control. And you will believe it to a certain level because you're scared sometimes and you might not believe. But you have to remind yourself you have control over everything. And that has stood me in good stead to say, where is my destiny going? Where is it changing to? And how do I change it? How do I influence what goes into here? And then what's the output?
Rashmi, thank you so much. That's been fantastic to hear your aha moments and the history before that. Are you happy, I'm sure, as a connector and a conductor, that you're happy for people to contact you? Is LinkedIn okay?
Please contact me. Yes. Happy to have a chat. Happy to have a coffee with you anytime, whether virtually or in person.
Well, I'll leave it up to you two guys whenever you connect, and make sure you don't put Janet. You don't want to connect with Janet because she's quite tough.
Janet's tough. Yeah.
Rashmi, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening, everyone, and watching. And thank you, Rashmi, for being my fantastic, fabulous guest on this episode. If you want to get in contact with Rashmi, thank you, everyone, for listening. And thank you very much, Rashmi, for being my fantastic, fabulous guest on this podcast episode, Aha Moments podcast. It's been a pleasure to get to know you a bit more about the context of pod. If you want to get in contact with Rashmi, all the details, LinkedIn and for Key, are in the show notes. So please get in contact with her. If you do reach out to her, just say, hey, I saw you talking to Kobi on Aha Moments podcast. Whilst I have you here, we'd love you to like, subscribe, share this with your friends, share with one friend, share with one colleague, share with one family member. Leave a comment below if you're watching on YouTube. And yeah, if you're still around, then there should be a video somewhere around here, maybe. Or here, or here. Click on that and watch the next episode, because there's more good stuff where this came from.